street.
Hello, 6 people. Welcome to Saturday. It is currently 12:49 p.m. in New York City. We have pretty nice weather. I'm gonna make some food and try to survive the day. Currently not feeling great, but I had to cook anyway, and I've been kind of viewing my live streams as a way of, I guess, almost like a video journal, a vlog, but not very exciting. A vlog for homebound, disabled, long COVID, various disease sufferer, which I feel like might have some identity overlap with some of my viewers. So here I am. Let's all suffer in invisibility together. I made some bread, a couple of lives ago. Some of you guys were actually asking on the last live. I've frozen them. They don't actually heat up very well, I've discovered. They kind of like get dried out and chewy. So yesterday I started soaking some in a little soak. So this has 1 egg beaten with some homemade oat milk and a little bit of honey and peanut butter. And so I figured, let's just bake it and see what happens and if it turns into something more edible. So we'll bake that, and obviously, as you know, once I have the oven on, we have to bake other things because ain't no way I'm turning on a whole oven just for a tiny bread pudding, right? So I'm kind of still thinking about what to bake. I do have some yogurt that we can put in a cake. But I'm on my period and my cramps are really bad. And I think I have to drink some water and take a sip. So let's do that. Mostly just checking in to document my health updates, grandma's aging, transition, dying process. I don't know what you want to call it at this point because she's not like actively dying, but they just placed her on hospice care, which is kind of like the service that they add on to her routine when they predict someone has 6 months left. Although I just went to see grandma this week. I think she looks, honestly, given everything she's been through in the last month and a half, pretty good. She feels more recovered than I am in her physical state. She was very lucid when she was talking to me. She was very sweet to me when I saw her on Wednesday when I had to go in and sign the paperwork. And she was encouraging me to eat well, eat fish, eat shrimp. I have some canned sardines, so maybe we'll make that for lunch today. And she told me to read up on medical books so that I could be more well-read. On the knowledge that I need, which I have been doing without her knowing, so thanks Grandma for being on the same page with me. Unfortunately, yesterday a social worker called me and I could hear Grandma screaming, hollering, crying, sobbing in the background, saying things like, somebody save me, save my life, they're stealing all my clothes from the closet, they've taken all my clothes off my back. If you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen that they have shifted to dressing her in a hospital gown, probably because she's been soiling herself with way more frequency than before because she's seemingly lost even more capability to walk to the bathroom on her And so it's probably just easier for everyone to change her into a gown rather than, rip clothes off of her every time they need to change her pull-up diaper. But whatever the case may be, she sounded like she was having a really horrible time yesterday, just crying, yelling, screaming, more of the same. She was so loud in the background of the call that I had problem hearing the social worker's words. But, she has not started actively dying yet, which there are signs. For right now, she's verbal, very extremely verbal. The social worker told me that when somebody starts actively dying, they will become non-verbal. And also they will lose the ability to swallow. So even though Grandma has been losing weight and she's not been, very receptive to the food that the facility gives her, she is still capable of eating when she wants to. She's just extremely upset, and when she's upset, she will reject the food no matter how hungry she is. Kind of like Memo. Memo will starve himself when I don't serve him the right food until he throws up clear vomit fluid. But when somebody starts actively dying, they will lose the capability to swallow, is what I was told yesterday, and so Grandma hasn't hit that stage yet. All that being said, I went to see a infectious disease specialist this week who told me this is a classic case of mono as far as he can see, and that I should not worry and leave it up to the big doctor, is what he said. With a great sense of humor. Obviously, I can laugh when I'm in the room with him, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm already weak as fuck. I don't even know why I'm going to the doctor if all you're going to tell me is leave it up to God. I have to spend this time, this energy, this money, this exposure to potential COVID infection because nobody else is masking in these health facilities to be told that I should leave it up to God. Okay. And then literally less than 2 hours after leaving his office, I start getting a chest pain and I feel around in my chest cavity and I feel a bump there. I don't know if it's a swollen lymph node. I don't know if it's a growth. All I know is I've asked all my friends and they say they don't have a bump there. So now I have to go get this checked out, I guess. And we're just going to keep digging into the diagnostics until I understand more and more of what is wrong and probably what doesn't have a treatment or a cure. Because as it turns out, doctors have limited knowledge. And when they hit that wall of their knowledge, they do like the rest of us do and leave it up to the unknown beyond, which both comforts me and annoys me, but after I have collected enough annoyance in one area and burn out on experiencing this futile search for answers, I will find myself in peace. And so the race towards death is still a tight one between me and Grandma. That's my little bit of humor for the day. I've been experiencing this weird throbbing, bruising feeling pain in my left thigh for a week now. I'm not sure what's causing it either. It could be circulatory issues. It could just be, the body doing what the body does. Maybe it's not a disease. Maybe it's just human weakness. That's all very possible. Every single doctor that I've gone to see in the last month have told me that I'm a smart person and that I should stop worrying so much. So, I don't know, are doctors for dumb people? Like, I don't understand what smartness has to do with anything. Just tell me you don't know if you don't know. Which I guess is their way of telling me they don't know when they tell me stuff like leave it up to God. Again, none of the doctors I have seen in the last month has been masked. We are reaching the height of a COVID spike right now. We are about to apparently downtrend until we hit October, November, when flu season comes around, when holidays come around, when people start traveling and meeting their families and hanging out with friends, probably unmasked. So, that's just my health frustration rant. That's also my, God, it sucks to watch my grandma die like this rant. And good God, if it sucks to see a genocide continue for a year and to see friends encouraging me to vote Democrat and to have people that I know donate to the Harris Waltz campaign. Um, I went to drop off compost today. So for 10 minutes I was outside. And it was very temperate and sunny. And it was lovely. And I hope that we can have more moments like that, all of us. Yes, the bump in my chest cavity could very well be a lymph node. If you look up a map of where your lymph nodes are in your body, they're kind of just like spread and branched all over in your upper body. Probably lower too. I just found one of the upper body to check. You know, there's a lot of lymph nodes right around here. It could be. But mono usually manifests in swollen lymph nodes in the neck and arms, which my infectious disease specialist, you know, checked. He kind of like pressed all around my liver and spleen, which are usually enlarged during mono. He said he didn't feel much, which makes sense because my blood work was back to normal on my liver functions at least. But he did not press in the chest cavity, and my pain did not start until after I left his office. He told me that he saw no reason for me to see him again. So maybe we will just leave it up to God, because it is very exhausting to have to research doctors to see and book appointments and navigate healthcare and pay for it and travel to it, all while COVID is spiking and nobody is masking. Like, all of this adds to the stress that has already existed because I'm not feeling well. And then I'm going to get my diseases checked out while realizing that I could be exposing myself to other diseases in the process. It's just kind of like a cost-benefit analysis. Is it even worth it at this point? Because almost every single doctor I've seen in the past month has told me this is all normal, you have mono, just rest. Don't worry about it too much. And also eat better for your cholesterol and maybe stop smoking weed because it's probably not good for you. And I'm like, girl, I need this weed. If there's anything that's helping me right now, it's fucking eating cheese and smoking weed. So that's that. And I'm just gonna sit here until I have enough energy to stand up and cook stuff. Because I tried to test my physical ability by walking to the doctor 2 days ago. And about 20 minutes into that walk, my body was just like, we gotta sit. And, you know, I took it slower, but I still pushed myself to make it to the doctor's. It was a 40-minute walk. I probably took almost an hour to get there. And then I went to chill at my friend's for a bit, and I ran out of energy just sitting on his couch after an hour. And then I slowly ambled home. And then yesterday my period came, and I was so exhausted from cramping, and probably the walk from the day before, that I ended up taking 2 ibuprofens before I realized that's probably not good for my liver, so I stopped taking it. So I haven't taken any painkillers today yet, so I'm just kind of sitting through feeling everything. There are studies tying together the co-occurrence of Epstein-Barr virus and long COVID. Epstein-Barr is one of the viruses that causes the majority cases of mono. So when you say that you have ME/CFS and fibromyalgia and that it started with mono, yeah, that could very well be my path. A lot of people with long COVID suffer from ME/CFS, which has been sorely underfunded, under-researched, and totally dismissed by a lot of the official medical community since the 80s. It's gone through a lot of rebranding, and it's only really seemingly come back into public recognition because of how much people who are going through long COVID are experiencing it. So, if you feel like something is wrong with your body, whether it be in the body or the mind, which are connected, something is probably off, even if professionals tell you there's nothing wrong. Now, it's a matter of personal regulation to decide whether or not I want to freak out over all of this. And I think what works best for me right now is, yes, when I first discover a symptom and an issue and a pain, I will freak out over it because I think that's the natural reaction to it. I will do my due diligence and research it and come up with potential issues and causes of what's causing all of these symptoms. And then I will take it to a professional if I have the resources for it. Resources including mental resource, monetary resource, and just the availability of doctors. And if I go see a doctor, or if I don't go see a doctor and there's no productive next steps available for me, then I will end my search and just rest. And yes, I guess at the end of the day, we will leave it up to the big doctor. And that's fine too. It's all a journey, y'all. Well, Stephanie, I do watch some of my videos back, and yes, I did get some therapy when Mom died, and yes, I have gone downhill in the past few years. If the differences in the videos are worrying, I would ask you to think about the question you just posed and what you just insinuated. If you are attributing this downhill slide to just my mom dying, I will ask you to reconsider everything else that has happened, not just to me in my own personal life, but also to all of us in the past 3 years. And I will ask us to reflect on the possibility that it is not just how we control our lives and ourselves that end up getting us to where we're at, but rather whether or not it's possible that everything around us, including the environment, including the politics of people suffering, will also have an effect on my personal well-being. I haven't been to see an endocrinologist yet. Maybe I should write all of this down because my memory is going to shit too. And your comment was very triggering because many people have told me that my behavior is due to underutilization of therapy to get over my mom's death or to process it. And for me, I understand if my video content is upsetting to watch, and you are free to not watch it or engage with it, but this is part of my personal therapy. Whether or not other people deem it to be a healthy act, or a normal act, or an acceptable act, I am starting to care less and less about that. especially seeing how despicable our government has callously dared to become, not even hiding their crimes. I'm tired of it all. I don't think I have to hide anything. I'm not the one sending bombs. But yes, my money and labor and energy and life force is going towards destruction. And that is sucking my viability too. To know that everything that I have worked for, that I pay taxes towards, is killing other people, yeah, that wrecks me too. Some of us do just continually decline until there's nothing left, but I appreciate your concern. I do mean it. I thank you for it, and I am trying my best. But whether or not we get to a better place is sometimes out of our control. Thank you for listening. I think a lot of the stuff that we talk about in therapy should maybe be talked about in group therapy, and maybe for people who can't access therapy in person or who can't access therapy due to financial restraints, this could be a space of obviously unprofessional group therapy, but nonetheless it is a place where we can exchange information and create connections and experience a lot of different kinds of emotions, and to show each other that this is all okay to feel, to express, and to have others hold you and accept you even though you might be breaking down and look like an absolute asshole bitch. And because this is all just a part of the spectrum of experiencing all of this shit. Life can be easy if you can afford for it to be easy, because other people are doing the labor for you to experience that convenience. That's all. It all comes from somewhere, because energy cannot be created or destroyed. So if you're enjoying something, then somebody else probably did the work to get it on your plate effortlessly. I think I want to make a vegan cake. Not a vegan cake, but an eggless cake with yogurt, because I have so much eggs in my diet now, and I think I should cut back on it a little bit. I really did like the cornbread that we made last time, so maybe like a chia seed yogurt cornbread. And, you know, like, I do want to thank everyone who continues to give advice. Even if I react poorly to it in the beginning, it is all a part of my learning, of navigating my interaction with you and working through my own triggers and feelings. It's all good, and a lot of you have given me concrete advice for how to figure things out in life, so I am thankful, but I'm just at a very weak point in my life right now, where just everything is kind of oozing like a wound, and I'm trying to keep this wound clean. But you know, when you're weak, there's only so much you can do. Everything from calling doctors and looking up research papers and figuring out what income I have to make so that insurance premiums aren't disgustingly high takes energy. get it, yeah. A lot of people enable other people because it's easier to do. And I struggled with it a lot in learning how to navigate dealing with and processing grandma's decline. And I think for a long time I was in a lot of denial and doing a lot of what my mom did, which was trying to convince grandma that she could do better. But all the professionals have told me that it is, and professionals including both medical professionals, social work professionals, as well as, professionals of people who have had to live through their loved ones going through this decline and eventual death. People who have had real life experience tell me that at this point, all you can do for them to feel at ease the most is to corroborate their reality and to not fight them. And so there comes a point where we stop fighting because there is nothing to win in the fight anymore. And I'm not saying I'm personally at that point, but I'm saying that we rarely can identify what that point is subjectively that can be agreed upon objectively. Which is probably what leads to a lot of the issues in the world right now. Other people deciding for other people what they should do, what is the right thing to do. This is why I think I'm starting to fully recognize the fallacy of morality and ethics. How can we decide in moments like these what the right thing to do is? Yeah, Cass. I mean, I think a lot of us have seen that footage now coming out of the DNC where protesters were outside on a megaphone reading off the names of those killed in the genocide, and attendees of the convention coming out covering their ears and mocking the protesters. The degree of callousness that allows some of us to live through life untouched by the effects of so much pain. I guess we were all just made differently. And I guess there might not be a common language. My creatinine levels are fine. Thank you for asking. Yeah, I did the full blood panel. As of the first week of August, at least, my liver and kidney functions seem okay. Earth Goddess, what a name befitting of such wisdom and blessing. Thank you. Yeah, we continue until we can. And for those of us who see and feel the world, just know that you are experiencing a piece of the reality that we are all in that maybe others don't. And that is for you to taste alone. And maybe you'll find other people who can also have the same taste receptors. But, learning to take my mom's words to heart. To realize that this is all a part of experiencing life. No matter how bad it feels. It's all flavor, guys. We can make something out of it. Okay. Ooh. I don't know when my energy will run out, so let's just cook the easiest things first that we know I want to eat. But I really want to turn on the oven. Okay. Ooh, this is still the overachiever June. Still not tamed yet by this diseased state of disability. Maybe I just like negotiating with myself of what I can still do. Okay. We got this. I'm not pushing myself to do something I don't want to do. I want to do it, I just don't have energy to do it. That's really sad. Like, I love taking that walk, and I hated it at the same time. Because I had no fucking energy. It sucks. It sucks so bad. Yeah, I have access to my blood results. Here's the benefit of technology is you can have ready access online to most of these results now. I've actually been printing out the results to take to my specialist doctors so that I'm armed with numbers that they love. But at this point, I could just be feeding all the same numbers into ChatGPT until they order diagnostics for me, like a CAT scan or a biopsy. I won't actually know what's wrong with me. Grandma's facility doesn't have a familial support group as far as I know, but the hospice care program that we just got placed on is a nonprofit. And I think they have familial support, which is why the social worker was so gentle and supportive and calm in her call with me. And she probably didn't even need to hear me say all those things, but I kept blabbering because I didn't know what to do hearing Grandma suffer like that. And she took the time to explain to me what dying looks like. My friend Daisuke loves testing the limits of ChatGPT, so we've been feeding a lot of numbers and test results into ChatGPT. ChatGPT is even capable of interpreting the totally illegible doctor handwriting from 1998 when I last got checked for IgA nephropathy. I was comparing my blood results to the blood results I got 26 years ago. I actually haven't cried in so long, like a week. I don't know what scripting is, Lee. Can you explain a little bit more? Where someone assumes a situation will be a certain way, but the other person doesn't know the script. Am I doing scripting right now? I mean, I feel like we're all doing scripting in our own lives, right? We always assume what a situation will be. Oh, God. Terrible live stream to be new here on. Yes, I'm sick. My grandma's dying. The world is burning. That's a good summary. That's a short summary. But welcome. Yogurt, cornbread. I have some cheese that I shredded here that can go into for salt. Great. I put nutmeg in. Do I want any other spices in there? Not sure. Can't think. Doctors give me all sorts of weird recommendations depending on who they are, you know, like my PCP. Office was a total shit show, by the way. That place looks so dirty, but I wasn't gonna complain. It was either that appointment that I got last week or I wait until December 27th for a clinic visit. But she told me that I should take multivitamins. I take magnesium, C and D, and some zinc and iron when I need it, but I don't take a multivitamin. And then I asked my friends, hey, do you guys take a multivitamin? And they're all like, no, they're not effective, and you should just take the supplements that you need. This was also the same PCP that like passive aggressively told me that weed was not good for me. You know, it's the normal kind of question of, do you smoke, do you drink, are you sexually active? And then I was like, I don't smoke tobacco, but I smoke weed 3 to 4 times a week. And then she was like, do you think that's good for you? And I honestly, because maybe I'm autistic, I didn't catch the first 2 times that she asked that she was like rhetorically asking. And I was like, what, weed? Yeah, like if I'm depressed, weed is amazing. And then she was like, smoking is probably not good for you. And I was like, oh, that's what she was saying. In any case, too tired to not smoke weed, guys. Like, I keep thinking about if I'm gonna die by next year, what do I want to do right now? This is the way that I've been thinking since Mom died. And I'm gonna fucking smoke the weed. I'm gonna smoke the shit out of the weed. Yeah, we do have carbon monoxide. I don't think that's what's making me crazy here. I have one. I think it works. Who knows? And you know what? If that's what's making me crazy, then great. Enjoy the show. And get yourself a carbon monoxide machine that's better than the one that I'm using. As far as I know, I don't think weed has the same side effects on my liver the way even ibuprofen does. we have to think about what drugs are regulated and what the actual side effects are for these drugs, because they be telling us all sorts of shit that ain't true. Especially when they don't have an answer for you. Because they don't want you to know that they don't have an answer for you. The way they maintain their control and power is by insinuating through various lies and deceptions and skirting around the issue, the fact that they don't know. So, at this point, if doctors aren't getting me any closer to diagnostics tests, then I'm gonna take what they say with less attention than I give to my relatives and friends. If you exercise 30 minutes a day, well, Lenny, I really recommend you look up MECFS, and also look up post-exertional malaise, and also look up the science behind how people with MECFS and other health conditions that manifest similarly have damaged mitochondria, which are the powerhouse of cells, if you remember that from like 9th grade biology. And basically, when you push your cells too hard, when they're already half broken and trying to defend all of these viruses that are swimming around in all of your organs, you break. You end up weaker than before, which is probably why a lot of people with more severe long COVID symptoms right now used to be very, very active folks, because they didn't want to give up their active lifestyle when they got long COVID and started feeling sick, so they kept pushing themselves to stay healthy by keeping exercising going, and then their cells gradually just broke down more. Research is ongoing. I can't say for sure this is what it is, but as far as what I do know and have read, this is probably in play. So be careful what kind of advice you give to people if you don't know their personal conditions and triggers and capabilities. Just because you can't see their disability doesn't mean that their body is functioning the same way that yours does. But if you can still exercise and feel great, I'm so happy for you, and I'm so jealous. Because I would love for nothing more than to be able to take my walks again. I'm doing okay for now because it's just been 6 weeks. But if I'm like this for the rest of my life, for however my life continues to be, I sure hope to God I can make peace with my own inner demons, given my past history with body image issues. I don't want to have to fight myself and hate myself any more than I already do, you know? This is just gloopy homemade oat milk. It's okay. You're not, you know, you don't have to know every part of my life. But some people do. Parasocial relationships be wild, my man. But you know, I'm trying to keep little pieces of humor going in my life when I can, when I have the energy for it. The mood swings are wild, which is what you're witnessing right now probably. Just me trying to keep myself afloat, but also trying to give myself space to feel all the intense feelings. And it's a part of a balanced psychological diet, I guess. Doing my best to not repress, because there's just too much shit to repress right now. And I cannot keep that dam from breaking if I started repressing. "14 years advocating for yourself to get a diagnosis." Holy shit, man. Holy fucking shit. EDS, huh? There's a lot of crossover between that and long COVID. And Epstein-Barr, I think. These are all terms that I've heard with increasing frequency as I've done more research into long COVID over the last 6 weeks. And I think a lot of my friends are worried for me, like some of you are. And thank you for that. But also, don't be too worried, because this is all natural. This happens to a lot of people, and it will eventually happen to you in some shape or form. This feeling of distress, being distraught at things not going the way you want it to. This is something that we can all relate to, because this is an inevitable part of life. Decline is natural, as well as little as we want to acknowledge that. And so, I'm just kind of like exposure therapying everybody, whether or not you knew you were signing up for this. But now that you know, you're welcome to stay or to go, because not everybody can handle this level of exposure. I get it. Two times 15 minutes a week is about the amount of walking that I've been able to do for the past 2 months. I think me walking to the doctor that 40 minutes was not wise, but I knew it wasn't wise and I wanted to try it, so I tried it. YOLO. And you will pay for it if your body can't handle it. So. But I will tell you, going through whatever health issues I'm going through now while having your period, it's pretty bad, man. It feels like you're about to throw up all day. But it also gets to a point where if you continue to lie down in bed, you feel like you're just actively rotting. So a little bit of a balancing act. I also felt very weak for about 2 months after I got COVID, and then never really fully recovered my energy levels, but I felt normal-ish after about 4 months. But this is worse than the extreme fatigue that I experienced after getting COVID in November of 2022. My body is hot all the time because I'm still running a low-grade fever. This morning I was 99.6 Fahrenheit. I've been experiencing a fever for 7 weeks now, probably. So, just like, I was in my bra and workout shorts all day yesterday. Honestly, if I wasn't trying to train Memo to be okay being held by me, I probably would have just been in my underwear. What a fascinating time to be alive, y'all. Okay, we're gonna need some baking powder. Ow, and baking soda. Well, my body is definitely fighting Epstein-Barr virus. That's been confirmed by blood work. I have mono. And it does seem like it's a primary infection, which means, contrary to what I thought, since my health center told me I had mono in college, it looks like I did not have mono in college. It looks like, according to my antibody test, this is the very first time in my life I've gotten Epstein-Barr virus, because I don't have the 2 other antibodies on my blood test that should be there if I had to fight off a mono infection before. Unless, of course, that first episode of mono was caused by another virus, which is possible, but I don't think so. But yeah, I truly just don't know. I don't know anymore. I'm gonna add some walnut powder, and I feel like we should add other spices. Ooh, maybe a little bit of poppy seed. Dill and parsley, no. Rosemary? Rosemary. Rosemary. Rosemary and thyme. Let's go herbally. And grains of paradise. Well, I was confirmed having mono on July 17th when I went to the ER and they ran a mono spot test. I'm assuming that it probably started when I realized I had a lymph node pop up in my neck the size of a grape, and that was when Grandma went to the ER. I'm guessing the stress of Grandma going into the ER and witnessing her antics really triggered something, and weakened my immune system, and that's when probably the Epstein-Barr virus was like, mono time! And then I just got increasingly sicker. So I have been down with mono since beginning of July now, so we're coming up on almost 2 months. My PCP told me that mono could take 3 to 6 months to get over normally, so given that I have autoimmune disease and long COVID, all in the interplay of everything here, who knows, man. I haven't been experiencing noticeable hair loss yet, but I do feel like my hair is getting flatter than before. I'm still shedding the same amount as far as I can observe on my, kitchen tile floor and when I shower, but I don't know what it is yet, Lenny, but I'm definitely experiencing some sort of long COVID, which is a medley of conditions because long COVID can now encompass over 200 identified conditions. But long COVID usually manifests in a lot of people as MECFS, which is chronic fatigue syndrome. And I also have mono, and I have a history of autoimmune kidney disease. And I don't know, maybe I have something else now with this fucking node in my chest cavity. I don't know what it is. We'll see. I don't know if it's something malignant or benign, if it's gonna go away. I just don't know. I don't know anything. Doctors don't seem to really know, and I don't need to really worry about it now, I guess, because I'm tired as fuck. Collagen powder. Interesting. For EDS, right? For joints. Yeah, maybe I'll go back to making more chicken broth for myself. COVID is very possibly man-made. The lab theory is still in play. In fact, the US government has spent money and resources like covering up their participation in that lab. I think it's a couple of articles in The Intercept that kind of did an expose on it. Obviously, it's not going to make mainstream news, and obviously it's going to get written off as conspiracy theory, but there is politics in here. That lab was not funded just by China. That lab was funded with European and American money as well. Nobody seemingly wanted to do that experiment in their home country, and so they all agreed that it would be done in China, but it was like a multinational funded experiment that was happening in that lab. We don't really know where the origins of COVID is. Isn't that weird? Isn't that sketchy? Why don't we know? Look at how they are taking care of grandma. Does that give you appreciation for this country? It gives me appreciation for the people who work in those fields tirelessly. This country, how are we defining this country? Who is the definition of this country? I love and appreciate a lot of people, but there are also people who are in control of the government that represents this country, sending billions and billions and billions to fund a genocide when we could be funding our own health care. So this country, the same country that is now violently oppressing student protesters, spending money hiring more police force and building more cop cities, what are we defining as this country? Yeah, so 90 to 95% of people already have the virus that causes mono in their system. They are just mostly asymptomatic. It is very interesting to see a case of adult mono. It usually happens in adolescence. Alright guys, let's turn on the oven. Let's start baking this shit. MECFS is like fibro, they can't see it. And they're not funding research into it, so. They still don't know what it is. It's apparently just a collection of symptoms that like cause you to not be able to function like normal. It's a debilitating disease that they are actively not researching, so we won't know more about it. Do I cringe at myself? I mean, I had to do it during the pandemic for my corporate job. Of course I cringed. I broke down once in a team meeting after Budget Eats was like reached its height of popularity because I just didn't feel like looking at my face anymore. I was struggling with a lot of body image issues, you know, trapped at home during the pandemic, not being able to exercise. I had to see my face and my body change on camera all the time, not just filming myself, but also reviewing edits and then watching the premiere so I can chat with folks. Like, it became very triggering for me to deal with. Yeah, I cringed a lot, but I had to do it, and so that was exposure therapy. So I eventually got over myself, and you know, I still don't want to see my face all the time, but I'm more comfortable with it now, because it's just like, what the fuck does it matter if I don't feel comfortable with it if other people enjoy my videos? At that point, it's less about me and just more about what I'm presenting to people, and do they like it enough for me to keep wanting to make it. That's all. I don't think I would keep making videos if I didn't have an audience, and I'm just not making videos right now because we're experiencing a genocide. I mean, we're not experiencing it ourselves personally, but we are living through the same time and space as one, which is wild. It's wild. Ethnic cleansing and oppression is insidious and the building blocks of Western society. Without it, they have nothing. US and UK produce and export virtually nothing. Or they buy up all the shit, or steal all the shit from other countries and then sell it back to them. They excel at ruining other people's sustainable efforts at agency and sovereignty. And then they come back in and play the good guy. It's like very domestic abuse role dynamics. It's like they'll beat you up until you're like within an inch of dying, and then they'll be like, oh my god, who hurt you like this? Here, let me take you to the hospital. This channel is not for income. I mean, I do have like residual ad revenue from it, but obviously live streams net like $15. So after taxes, each live stream gets me $7. It's not really for income. I have some partial income from Burlap and Barrel right now, but since I got sick, I had to relinquish one of my newer roles. So I'm just back down to writing their newsletters for now. And even that is like testing the limits of my ability, which makes me feel really fucking sad and useless. So yeah, I'm definitely, in my current state, I'm definitely not capable of like holding down an actual full-time job that requires you to travel anywhere. I would just collapse on the way there, probably. So to think about the amount of people who are living with long COVID and possibly other comorbid diseases and still having to push themselves to go to work, I mean, they're out there. I'm just lucky and privileged enough to not have to force myself to do that so that I can stay housed and have food. But there are people, I'm sure there are people, who can't afford to stop working. And when I went to the ER, they ended up running a bunch of labs on me, and the COVID test was the most expensive item on all the labs that they ran for me. The COVID test that I didn't even know they were giving to me until they like ripped it out of its pack. Like they were like ripping the packages of the swabs and telling me at the same time that it was a COVID test, even though I told them I took 2 rapid tests at home. I did not know that that test was going to cost me $356. Meanwhile, all of my blood tests cost like 100 and something, and there were like 8 different blood tests. The monospot test cost 150. All of my labs came to about $700, and COVID was half of that. So, yeah. Am I thankful for America? Yes and no. It's like every country, right? Every country has its ups and downs. My dad certainly prefers America to China, that's why he's here. But he also fully recognizes what the police state is doing. You know, it's what every country does. They suppress information. Right now, because there's nothing we can do for COVID and long COVID, they are suppressing information. They have stopped keeping track of infection rates. That's info suppression. You can't say they're doing something wrong if they don't have numbers to prove it. Because we love numbers. We definitely can't just take people's words for how much they're suffering, right? Who can believe people? How are we doing on battery? 38%? Great. I don't want to be live for longer. So let's just cook some lunch. Some onions, cabbage with some canned sardines because Grandma told me to eat my fish and shrimp. My mom's knife. It's a cheap ass knife. It bends. But yes, it is a fire knife. I love it. It's my go-to knife. America runs on death, but most capitalist-driven countries and systems do. Like, people are seen as units of production. That is why reproductive rights are so key. Because women will reproduce new sources of labor by giving birth to children. How else are you going to keep the machine well-oiled and the meat grinder full of filling if you don't have the raw materials to keep it moving? And, you know, I am thinking about having to not work so that I will not be potentially sinking myself into medical debt. Because if I work, the insurance premiums are quite outrageous. I'm gonna have to go pee. I'll be right back. This cabbage is on low. Hopefully it won't burn. But I'm also thinking that the next 2 months will be quite pivotal for me in terms of both gauging what the medical healthcare system here is capable of doing for me, in terms of how much of a diagnosis I can get for myself, which is, considering someone took 14 years to get a diagnosis, I'm not optimistic about 2 months. But, you know, it's kind of crazy because if I make any income above $25,000, I won't qualify for Medicaid. I will then have to pay for insurance premium while paying taxes on the on the income that I'm making. So I'm both going to be paying taxes to this government that has no problem writing off billions of dollars of checks to commit a genocide, while also paying for healthcare that doesn't do much for me while working, which is going to drain my energy and my mental vitality and my will to live to keep funding a state like this. So, you know, maybe I will leave it up to the big doctor and just let that be that. I don't want to have to keep paying, you know, $16,000 in taxes on a 40K income. That don't make no sense to me. Yeah, some of you are experts in the disability sphere, it sounds like, which sucks, but amazing. Thank you for offering and advising. I mean, at this point, I think I just have to really manage my own stress levels and accept that what will be, and I'm going to use the energy that I have to try to get myself some care and help if I can, but you know, once I run out of that energy, I just have to make sure that I first allow myself to heal back to baseline energy, which is really low already at this point, before I continue on any more search and hunt and visits to doctors that likely will be frustrating and costly. At this point, I'm very interested in how to like game the system the most, because the system is raping us. So I'm certainly not gonna, you know, just keep letting it rape. I mean, yes, it will keep raping. But how do I reduce the amount that it does? That is what I'm most interested in, for sure. It makes no sense to labor over something that they take 30 to 40% away to absolutely fund nothing that you need. So I'm just trying to do less of that. Less working, less everything. Because the more you produce, the more destructive garbage you make. I don't know if you guys follow me on Instagram, but there was an article that my friend Daisuke shared. It was a profile on Uruguay's former president, who has recently been diagnosed with cancer at the age of 89. And, well, I'll just read it. The interviewer asks, "How is your health?" He says, "They did radiation treatment on me. My doctor said it went well, but I'm unbroken." He continues unprompted, "I think that humanity, as it's going, is doomed." Interviewer asks, "Why do you say that?" He says, "We waste a lot of time uselessly. We can live more peacefully. Take Uruguay. Uruguay has 3.5 million people. It imports 27 million pairs of shoes. We make garbage and work in pain. For what? You're free when you escape the law of necessity, when you spend the time of your life on what you desire. If your needs multiply, you spend your life covering those needs. Humans can create infinite needs. The market dominates us and it robs us of our lives. Humanity needs to work less, have more free time, and be more grounded. Why so much garbage? Why do you have to change your car, change the refrigerator? There is only one life and it ends. You have to give meaning to it. Fight for happiness, not just for wealth." The interviewer asks, "Do you believe that humanity can change?" He says, "It could change, but the market is very strong. It has generated a subliminal culture that dominates our instincts. It's subjective, it's unconscious. It has made us voracious buyers. We live to buy, we work to buy, and we live to pay. Credit is a religion, so we're kind of screwed up." Interviewer says, "Going back to phones, are you saying they are too much for us?" He says, "It's not the phone's fault. We're the ones who are not ready. We make a disastrous use of it. Children walk around with a university in their pocket. That's wonderful. However, we have advanced more in technology than in values." Last question. "Yet the digital world is where so much of life is now lived." He says, "Nothing replaces this. This is non-transferable. We're not only speaking through words, we communicate with gestures, with our skin. Direct communication is irreplaceable. We are not so robotic. We learned to think, but first, we are emotional beings. We believe we decide with our heads. Many times the head finds the arguments to justify the decisions made by the gut. We are not as aware as we seem. And that's fine. That's the mechanism that keeps us alive. It's like the cow that follows what's green. If there is green, there is food. It's going to be tough to give up who we are. That's it. That's the kind of simple cooking that I've been doing. Just a quick little vegetable stir fry. I either eat my vegetables in smoothie form, which I stopped doing because apparently like some greens, if you don't blanch them at first, they have a lot of components in them that could be not good for people with kidney issues. So cabbage is okay, I think. But my aunt and uncle urged me to blanch all dark leafy greens. So we're just gonna mix some sardines packed in water with some condiments and eat it over our cabbage and call it a day. I will plug you in too because my phone kind of just drains out of nowhere sometimes. And we're gonna move the phone away from the oven because it's hot. Welcome to a new angle of life. Do you think Memo would like a little sardine? Let's go visit Memo. Let's go visit Memo. This is packed in water, so it should be fine for him. Memo, baby. Hi. You want to smell? Sniff? Fish. Are you interested? Did you like it? Oh, okay, another one? Oh, yummy. Okay. Well, next time I open up a can, I'll share more with you. Boy, Memo. There he is. He's chilling on my bed. He's my bed buddy these days. Very sweet. I still have to take him to the dentist. God. Just non-stop doctors for both of us. I hope he can cooperate soon. What else? Ketchup? Filipino ketchup? I think that's all I have energy for. Plugging you back in. When I read that interview, I was like, damn, I don't think I've heard anyone articulate so many of my feelings towards how blindsided we've become. But maybe not. Maybe we just prefer to be blind. I don't know anymore. Maybe it's not blind. Maybe it's just differently visioned. The brand Jufran, Jufran. Do you approve of that brand? Just mixing up my mush. It's still gonna be mush, guys. It's always mush. Can somebody explain to me why Filipino is always spelled with an F rather than that PH? It never made sense to me. Why would we spell the country and the adjective differently? Cheers! It is 2. I should probably feed Memo again too. Let's see if he eats it. I've been pureeing his food into like a mousse to make it more palatable for my prince. I got the septum ring in March, so yes, you've been gone for nearly half a year. Welcome back. That explanation makes sense. There's also a lot of like interesting differentiation in spellings and etymology in general, just based on like who had the power to make the rules of what this country and its people would be called. Life is so weird. So much nonsense. Very exhausting. pudding looks interesting for sure. I think our cornbread is almost done, but not quite. But I will decrease the timer to 3 minutes. Actually, let me just check up on it again. I don't trust myself anymore. Oh. Yeah, let's turn that off. The corners haven't started peeling yet, but it is turning kind of slither golden. And so I think if I just leave it in there for 5 minutes on that current heat, it should be fine. I am doing worse, Keith, than I was doing in March, unfortunately. But so it goes. Life is full of mystery and adventure. It just depends on whether or not you're up for it. Memo. Okay, yes, I can tell the story of Memo. Memo is from the NYC Animal Control Center. I don't remember, but it's basically the city shelter. It's shortened to NYCACC. I had a bookmark that leads me to search results for senior cats saved on my browser. And I think I was like looking for something else that night, and I accidentally clicked into that bookmark, and I happened to see Memo, and it was because I was trying to see if another couple of kitties I had bookmarked were still available, and they weren't. So instead, that link just took me to like a refreshed search result page, and I saw Memo, and I was like, this guy's 13, but he looks fucking adorable. And honestly, I loved his name. Like, I'm an English lit major. I'm a slut for words. And Memo, to me, just seemed like such a... You know, like, when you go through shelter listings, a lot of them are just like princess, butterscotch, socks. I had never seen a Memo before, and I was like, okay. And he was so adorable. They have so many cute photos of him up. So I thought about it for a while. I thought about it for a couple of days. I sent his listing to the guy that I was dating at the time, and the guy replied, I think, with question mark. And I was like, I just thought he was a cutie. And he was like, okay. And I was like, maybe I kidnapped him. And he was like, okay. So you can see why that guy and I did not make it. But I started the adoption process. My application got rejected over the weekend for no reason. So then I actually emailed them because I really wanted to know what was wrong with my application. I was kind of bummed, but I was also like, well, I want to know what my application should be like if I want to successfully adopt a cat in the future. And they got back to me and they were like, we're not sure why it got rejected, but we've moved on to another application. But if that application falls through, we'll come back to you. And I was like, okay, great, thank you. And that application ended up being a no response. So they came back to me, and I got dumped. And then 2 days later, Memo was delivered to me very lovingly by the foster parent with toys and snacks and a lot of advice. And now I have Memo. Memo's my boyfriend now. Fred is with Aaron. Fred is okay. He's a little bit of a chonker now. But Fred is actually not really showing asthmatic symptoms anymore. But he does have, like, you know, he's also old. So he does have kidney issues now. So he's on a very fancy Icelandic food diet. I don't know what the California portal is. What is it? He's only with Aaron now. I took care of him a couple of times when Aaron traveled, and that's actually the reason why I got COVID the first time. It's because Fred hated living with me and he would meow all night, and then I basically did not get any sleep for 10 days straight, and then I got sick with COVID. So Fred gave me COVID the first time. But he's so in love with Aaron. They're so gay together. He licks Aaron and grooms Aaron, and it's disgustingly cute. So I'm happy that they're happy. That's all I want from my friends and my lovers is for them to be happy. And if they're not happy with me, then I wish them the best of luck, and I hope they find their happiness elsewhere that fulfills them more. What is the California portal? Well, before I got sick with all of this shit, I used to visit my friends. And I got to see Fred every time I visited Aaron, and Fred is doing wonderfully. Being a little chonker asshole, as usual. A roly-poly cutie patootie. Now I have to look up California portal. Nothing is really coming up for me. So I don't know what's taking over the entirety of the United States, but okay, sure. Doesn't sound like I have a choice. Nice. Bouncy, moist, fragrant, herby. I will dig into the bread pudding so you can have the satisfaction of knowing how it turned out. And then I will go sob in solitude. Ooh, that was a nice little spoon sink. Does this remind you of Budget Eats Beauty Shop food pulls? A little slow-mo sexy slither of mush. Ooh. Ooh. Alright guys, I have to go. Looks like I have well, I don't know this number. But I'll chat to you later. Take care. Have a good weekend.